Dwight Eisenhower once said, "The world must learn to work together, or finally, it will not work at all." Keep this in mind as we discuss today the arrival of the new Chinese ambassador to the United States and what does it mean for the future of the relationship between China and the United States. My name is Dr. David Oualaalou.
And my name is Dr. Ross Stewart.
And you are watching Geopolitics in Conflict.
We'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for subscribing. It helps us a whole lot in terms of getting the word out.
Well, indeed, Ross. And also we want to thank our Patreon members. We thank you for your continued support. And to those who like, for you, if you like our videos and you would like to support us, consider joining our Patreon membership. Thank you all for your support.
The former Chinese ambassador to the United States was here for a very long time. Qin Gang is the new ambassador to the United States, and he's marking out a very different new approach to the United States, and he's standing very tall. What do you make of this?
I know, and the U.S. will have to get used to that.
Yeah.
It's almost like I feel that he put Washington on an alert, given what's going on, the ongoing tensions between the U.S. and China. Well, indeed, his nomination, he's about 55 years old.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of Western media kind of describe him as a stern, whatever, and he's not. He seems to be soft-spoken. You know, he kind of has some sense of humor, but his post...
He is supporting the Chinese position with real strength and congruence. He said, here's what it is, and we want to work with you.
Well, exactly, and he's going to find himself in a really very, very delicate seats because he has to balance between, you know, it's one thing when you are strident in your own country. It's another thing when you are in a host country where you are serving. That's two different things. So what's give this new ambassador the advantage over others is that he's closer to Secretary General Xi Jinping. Believe it or not. I know. I dig into...
He's high up in the Communist Party.
But not to the point that he came so close to the circles of Xi. Remember, he was the one, the new ambassador, was the one who manages all the protocol for President Xi during his international travels.
Oh.
So he became closer to Xi by the idea that it's almost like there is that trust in him from Xi Jinping. So that's what's interesting about him. Because even, and this might surprise our viewers who know a little bit about the Chinese government structure, even Wang Yi is not as close as you might think to President Xi. He's not.
Yeah, and he's very high up in the diplomatic corps. He's a top diplomat, I think.
Not this guy, not this new ambassador. He is very close. And that gave him some sort of a different, shall we say, aura about him when he was sent over to Washington.
You know, even seeing him speak, he's got a certain solidness to him.
Well, because he used to be the spokesperson for the foreign department. Yeah. So he is very familiar or how to handle the press corps questions, the sensitive questions. He has an understanding of that. What was very surprising to me personally, was surprising that gives me an idea about where this is going, is when he arrived to New York, JFK, nobody from the State Department was there to welcome him.
Oh.
Yeah, that's usually the protocol when a new ambassador, especially from a country that is big, usually you will have somebody from the State Department to welcome the new ambassador. Nobody went to JFK. And right there, you could read between the lines Was it a reciprocity for
For
how
Wendy Sherman?
Wendy Sherman was treated? Or was it a reflection of the really tense relations between China and the United States? Because even during the Obama administration, you could see some changes were coming forward. When the former President Trump came to power, it became ever tense with the trade, the tariffs and sanctions and so forth. And what I found interesting about his speech, this new ambassador, is that he quoted first President Xi
And then President Biden.
Biden.
The very next sentence.
I found that very interesting, Ross, because that sends the signal right there that, while we will wish the United States, sort of development or some sort of a friendly tone when it comes down to China, he stood his ground as far as what are the red lines for China. And that gives me personally the idea of there is the new normal in U.S.-China relations, that gone the era of Kissinger when he did the secret visit to China, of course, to pave the way. That era is gone. All that is gone.
And what has replaced it?
What's replaced it now is this. There's this strategic competitive framework that exists because China kind of put down on a table what are its red lines are,
They couldn't have been more clear, actually.
Yeah. So it becomes the question now how two countries going to be proceeding, and this new ambassador will be the one to navigate the ship.
Well, among other things, he's demanding respect.
And that is one of the to me, the way I see it, that how the relationship between the United States and China will proceed. Well, first of all, you have to sort of put down the red lines. What are the red lines on both ends? The second thing, it's going to have to be respected. Those red lines will have to be respected. And this is where I see the changes in the U.S.-China relations. It's not going to happen overnight. Doesn't matter who's in the White House. It's going to be gradual. It's going to take time. The interesting thing about it is that should there be an understanding between the two parties or the two countries, that could serve for the next decade or two.
Oh, nice.
That's the way I see it. However, I am an optimistic guy, but I see things differently when it comes down to China and U.S. relations right now, because we in the West or in the United States having certain, I won't use the guardrail, but certain conditions that have been placed on the Chinese, and the Chinese saying we won't have it. So now they're going to become very strident or vocal about it, and this ambassador is going to reflect that.
Was it Wang Yi who said, we're going to teach America how to respect other countries?
He did. He did indeed. He did say that. And to me, whoever thought that a foreign minister will issue a statement like that. Usually in the world of diplomacy, and Chinese tends to be the diplomatic corps, is very, very savvy when it comes down to handling countries and so forth. I was surprised when I read that. But on the other hand, it's kind of was expected. Surprised but expected, because China wants to make it clear that gone those days when we're going to have to kind of hold our tongue. Not anymore.
Well, they're certainly making it clear enough.
No, it is. And you can just see on the hot issues, Taiwan, Hong Kong, South China Sea, now the microchip, you name it. It's becoming very, very tense. And I don't see how, at least on our side, on the United States, how they're going to manage that change, because that change, we're not getting used to it. It's new. And whether we even have the diplomatic cadre that's going to understand that kind of, I don't know. I can't speak for the State Department.
One of the things we're watching is, with the United States with more than 100 years, I hate to say it this way, of disrespecting other countries.
Well, it is the truth,
It is the truth.
I mean, we're gonna say it the way it is, as we always believe in, and it's kind of, China said enough is enough. And to me, with the appointment of this, because here is the thing, here is what's also surprised me, is that unlike for us in the West, or for us in our country, in the US,
Right.
usually diplomats tends to work through the system to get to that level. That depends again, especially recently. When I say recently, the last few years, it became based on political donations. And this is why the quality of our diplomacy is kind of very low. I would say it straightforward, because you get I remember one time it was a hearing at the Foreign Relations Committee, and the ambassador at that time to, I think, Norway was asked about what are our strategic interests in Norway. And the ambassador didn't know, because he was a political, we're not making fun of the guy, he was a political donor.
Right.
So the guy never been in a country, does not speak the language, doesn't understand the culture. What do you expect? And that's what has become of our diplomatic corps. This is why the quality of individuals in the State Department is going down. You got people read a book or two and saying, I know about the Middle East, I know about this. That's nonsense. Chinese, they approach it differently. And that was what's interesting about this guy, this new ambassador. What's interesting about him? He didn't go through that channel, because he was the spokesperson for the foreign affairs. It's because of it tells you almost like they didn't want somebody who's very familiar with America to be ambassador. That's how I interpret that.
Wow.
I know, it's shocking and surprising. Why? It's because of change of policy. They care less now whether you have an experience in America or not. They want new ideas. And this guy, this new ambassador, is reflecting that. That's what I see coming. So,
You see China doing something like preparing a couple of thousand people in China to speak French fluently so that they can do business in France. And going, wow, these people are really planning ahead. And it looks like this ambassador is part of that general kind of thinking.
Exactly, and this is why, to the surprise of the well-seasoned diplomats in China, it was a surprise nomination, or appointments, that is. And because also he was closer to Xi, and he remember, as we said, when he gave that brief statement, he quoted President
Xi and then President Biden.
Exactly.
Back to back.
Yeah, so it tells you right there. So as to where the relations will be going, it's going to move very, very slow, gradually. They both have some common interest as far as, climate change and so forth. But I don't see it going beyond any of that, because China's not backing down anytime soon. And the U.S., we're going to have to figure out when the next elections comes in, what's going to be happening. You can just see on our side, because one thing you need to know and understand is that China has its own domestic politics to deal with. Yeah, they have their own things to deal with inside, not just because there is no such a perfect system.
You take a look at every country, and they got more problems than they really know what to do with.
Yeah,
And it's just the way human beings and governments actually operate.
Exactly.
And so they've got all these internal things they're dealing with, but so does the United States.
Yeah. It's just for this new ambassador, he's going to be in a hot seat, and he's going to be very, very, I am certain he's going to be very careful or delicate in his statements, into what he says, and of course it has to be approved by Beijing, but he's going to be very, because of the nature of the tensions that's been going on now for a few years since the last administration.
Well, the new ambassador has a reputation of being a wolf warrior.
Wow. Yeah.
And so what that means is strong, determined, courageous.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah, because he got nothing to risk now by laying out what the red lines are for China.
Yeah.
So
Wang Yi already laid them out pretty nicely.
And it's almost, I feel like, diplomatically speaking, that they are throwing the ball into the U.S. court.
That's exactly what his presentation felt like.
Yeah.
We're willing to play.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah. Except that we put in conditions and we put in requirements and all that stuff. And China's not going to, they're not going to bend backward for the U.S. I don't see that, especially with hot issues like Taiwan. Can you imagine? Issues of Hong Kong, South China Sea. I mean, you're talking about even now the considerations for the U.S. to send some military to Vietnam. You know, we're trying to resolve the issues, but at the same time, we are imposing other restrictions. And how are they going to interpret it? Not just China, any country we will be dealing with in that fashion. So basically, that framework that's going to exist between the United States and China moving forward with this new ambassador, it's going to be strategic in a sense that they're going to take their time, at least the Chinese, they're going to take their time in deciding, okay, should we sit down with the U.S. or not?
We know the Chinese certainly have patience.
Yeah, and thus far...
The investment deal with the Europeans, 7 years in the making.
Exactly. And thus far, Wendy Sherman's recent trip, it's an indication for me personally how things are moving forward. Now, it will be interesting to see whether both President Biden and President Xi meet in October, towards the end of October during G20 on the sideline. I don't know. I do not know.
That's going to be real interesting to see because I've heard both sides of it.
Yeah.
There's going to be no meeting because of the animosity.
Yeah.
Or they'll have a secret meeting and something will happen.
Yeah. But even if they do, could it be just a photo op?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to calm the nerves around the world. And it's kind of like, so that's
David,
what I
what would you
see.
say is the biggest takeaway from this new ambassadorship to the United States?
Well, it's just this will be different. Gone the days where we get used to the norm as far as U.S.-China relations, not with this new ambassador. You know, he's been sort of instructed to ensure that China's red line will be expressed clearly to the U.S. administration.
So the bottom line is we've got a strong player in the Chinese ambassador who's saying, here's going to be the new norm.
Exactly.
I want to thank you for subscribing to the channel. Be sure to tell us that you like what you've seen. And thank you for watching.
And as always, stay informed. Till next time. Bye-bye.